I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're looking at a truly fascinating breakdown of human behavior. When we think about highly intelligent people, our minds immediately jump to what they do, right? We think about the really complex problems they solve, the massive books they read, or the brilliant things they say. But today, we are going to flip that entirely on its head. The source material we're digging into presents a deeply counterintuitive premise. True intelligence is actually defined not by what people do, but by the behaviors they absolutely refuse to engage in. It's about their boundaries. It's all about what they leave out. Over the next few minutes, we're going to look at 5 specific things that highly intelligent people never do. And I guarantee you, some of these are going to catch you totally off guard, especially that last one, which almost everyone does daily without realizing how much it's holding them back. Okay, let's dive right into this. I really want you to start rethinking your preconceived notions about what makes someone smart. So, what actually separates truly intelligent people from the rest of the pack? For decades, society has basically handed us this very specific, incredibly rigid template for intelligence. We picture someone with a dizzying IQ score, right? Or maybe a wall just covered in Ivy League college degrees. Or that person who can calculate complex math equations in their head in like 3 seconds. But the research points us in a completely different direction. Real intelligence doesn't just live on a piece of paper or in a timed exam. It's an active, living thing. It shows up in how a person navigates the absolute chaos of the world every single day. The contrast here is honestly stark. The old view is all about raw processing power, test scores and degrees. But the real view, which is backed by research published in the Journal of Intelligence and Cognitive Psychology, shows that highly intelligent individuals actually demonstrate really specific behavioral patterns. True intelligence shows up in your everyday decisions, your communication, and most importantly, your behavioral boundaries. These aren't just polite little habits someone memorized in a classroom. No, these are natural tendencies that emerge from how their minds fundamentally process the world around them. And honestly, the most revealing part of this processing is what they consistently choose to avoid. Well, that brings us straight to habit number 1. Highly intelligent people never pretend to know things they don't actually know. While most people totally panic or just make things up to avoid looking weak, truly smart people do the exact opposite. So the crucial point here is something called intellectual humility. Think about what happens when most people are asked a question they cannot answer. Panic sets in, insecurity flares up, and they usually do one of 3 things, right? They make something up on the spot, they give a really vague response that sounds super knowledgeable but actually says literally nothing, or they completely deflect the question. And why? Because admitting I don't know feels like admitting a fatal weakness. But highly intelligent people, they value truth and accuracy far, far more than their own ego. They don't care about looking like the smartest person in the room. They care about actually finding the right answer. Their confidence does not come from the illusion of knowing everything. It comes from being radically honest about what they know and what they do not. Saying I don't know is arguably one of the most confident, highly intelligent things a human being can say. Moving right along to habit number 2. They never engage in pointless arguments or fight to win every single debate. Look, we all know someone who treats a casual Thanksgiving dinner conversation like a high-stakes Supreme Court battle. Truly intelligent people absolutely refuse to play that game. And this brings us to a huge modern trap. We live in a world where information is literally everywhere. You read one WebMD article and suddenly you feel qualified to argue with a surgeon. This is mere exposure. Most people get a tiny bit of exposure and then speak with the unearned confidence of an expert. But highly intelligent people understand the massive, gaping canyon between exposure and actual mastery. They don't watch a single documentary about physics and then feel qualified to go debate an actual physicist. They profoundly respect the difference between knowing about something on the surface and actually understanding it deeply through years of study, practice, and lived experience. Psychologists have a fantastic term for this: epistemic humility. Basically, it's understanding how much you do not know, even in the very areas where you happen to have genuine, deep knowledge. True intelligence makes you a perpetual student of life. It makes you someone who is always learning, always questioning, and always digging deeper, but who absolutely refuses to ever pretend that they've arrived at complete, absolute understanding. They respect the long, grueling process of acquiring real expertise. Let's look at habit number 3. They never make major decisions based purely on emotions in the moment. Now, just to be super clear, highly intelligent people aren't cold, unfeeling robots. They feel deeply, but they draw a very hard line when it comes to permanent life choices. Neuroscientists refer to this as emotional regulation. It's the ability to feel an emotion fully without being controlled by it. Intelligent people view their emotions as incredibly valuable data. If they feel angry or sad, that emotion is carrying really important information about what matters to them and what might be wrong in their environment. However, that emotional data absolutely must pass through the filter of rational thought before it ever becomes an action. They create this deliberate, necessary space between the feeling and the response. So, here is exactly how they create that space. Step 1. Feel the emotion fully. Seriously, don't suppress it. Step 2, ask rational questions. They'll ask themselves things like, am I going to feel the same way about this tomorrow? What about next week? Or, hey, how will I view this choice 6 months from now? By asking these questions, they pull themselves right out of that emotional peak or valley. And then, step 3, only then do they take action. This sequence doesn't make them cold, it makes them profoundly wise. It completely protects them from the massive regret that always follows impulsive, emotionally charged decisions. Habit number 4 actually goes against almost every natural instinct we have as humans. They never surround themselves with people who only agree with them. While we are biologically wired to seek comfort and validation, intelligent people know that an echo chamber is an incredibly dangerous place to hang out. This is deeply rooted in what the renowned psychologist Carol Dweck calls the growth mindset. It's the belief that intelligence is not some fragile, fixed trait that you have to constantly defend and protect from the world. Instead, it's a living, breathing thing that only grows through effort, challenge, and friction. Because of this mindset, highly intelligent people are not threatened by being proven wrong. In fact, they're energized by it. If someone proves them wrong, it literally means they just shed an incorrect belief and upgraded their entire understanding of the world. For them, it's a huge win. Let's move to and see how this builds into the difference between an echo chamber and a growth circle. An echo chamber offers you tons of comfort and validation, but it completely stunts your intellectual growth. You do not become smarter by surrounding yourself with people who just tell you you're right about everything. You become smarter by building a growth circle, engaging with people who respectfully disagree with you, who force you to defend your ideas, who actively point out flaws in your reasoning, and who bring perspectives you hadn't even considered. Highly intelligent people actively seek out people who elevate their thinking, not people who just pat them on the back and make them feel smart. Now, what's really interesting about this next one is how common it is. Habit number 5 targets a trap almost all of us fall into. They never mistake being busy for being productive, or confuse mere activity with actual achievement. We live in this culture that absolutely glorifies the 80-hour work week, like it's some sort of badge of honor. People love to brag about their packed schedules, and somehow walking around completely, utterly exhausted has become a coveted status symbol. But highly intelligent people know a fundamental truth. Working 80 hours a week on the wrong things accomplishes significantly less than working 20 focused hours on the right things. They prioritize ruthlessly. They say no to almost everything so they can say an absolute resounding yes to high-impact activities that actually move the needle on their meaningful goals. They do not care if an activity looks urgent to other people. If it doesn't align with the true goal, they drop it. The legendary management thinker Peter Drucker captured this so perfectly. He said, "Efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things." Most people are hopelessly obsessed with efficiency. They want to get more done faster, they want to optimize every single minute of their day, actually scratch that every single second of their day, and they multitask constantly. But intelligent people, they are obsessed with effectiveness. They want to make absolutely sure that the ladder they are climbing is leaning against the right wall, long before they start worrying about how fast they are climbing it. And because they prioritize effectiveness over efficiency, highly intelligent people often appear way less busy than everyone else. They have more free time. They leave open space on their calendars to think, to reflect, and to just be fully present. They aren't burning all their precious energy on shallow activities that lead absolutely nowhere. They realize that rest, unstructured time, and quiet reflection aren't some lazy luxury. No, they are the absolutely essential ingredients for clear thinking, deep creativity, and sustainable long-term performance. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when you pull all these behaviors together. A very clear matrix of intelligence emerges. Look at this. In the area of knowledge, they avoid pretending to know, and instead they seek accuracy and truth. When it comes to conflict, they avoid arguing just to win, and they seek mutual learning. True intelligence isn't loud. It really doesn't need to constantly announce itself to the room. It shows up quietly, grounded in the firm boundaries and intentional decisions that most people breeze right past without even noticing. So let's do a rapid summary of these 5 vital behavioral boundaries that you can start applying to your own life today. Number 1, Don't pretend to know, embrace that intellectual humility. Number 2, don't argue just to win. Preserve your precious energy for mutual learning. Number 3, delay your emotional decisions. Create that rational space between feeling and acting. Number 4, break out of your echo chamber. Seek respectful friction to upgrade your understanding. And number 5, prioritize effectiveness over busy work. Stop mistaking exhausting motion for actual progress. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. The question today is not whether you are intelligent. No. The real question is, which of these 5 things are you still doing? Take a hard, really honest look at your daily habits. Are you saying yes to pointless arguments? Are you out there bragging about how busy you are? And more importantly, what incredible growth happens in your life when you finally stop? Take some time to reflect on that, audit your own behaviors, and see where you can raise your own boundaries. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.